Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we are playing with pattern paper and we are going to create a couple of cards. Originally I was just going to do one, but I had extra pieces of that pretty pattern paper left over, and so I thought we'd create two. This is the retro sketch number 130. We're going to be using this as a guide for our project today. When I saw this retro sketch, I saw the banners, and I've been working on another project for you guys, and for me. I love this 12 by 12 collection pack. It's called Flora number 3, and at the bottom of the 12 by 12 papers always have that extra strip of pattern paper on it, and normally we just trim that off and throw it away, but I thought these would make a beautiful card. Because of the colors and the patterns, and there's a lot of two-tones. You know, I love my two-tones. The reverse side has these beautiful prints. Oh my goodness. But on the very bottom you can see it has strips that are in smaller scale too, but they coordinate beautifully all together. And since there's so many banners on our retro sketch, I thought it would be a perfect way to use the scraps up, something that we would normally throw away, and then I thought it would make a pretty color palette for our card today. Aren't these patterns so pretty? Okay, I want to share a little sneak peek of my project. It's actually going to be a little mini series, and I'm so excited. When I saw this print, I fell in love with it. It's gorgeous. But I've been kind of working on a rough draft of a little a pocket album. I think this would make a great gift. If you put stamps and a notepad and some note cards and an envelope and a pretty bow on the front, I just think it would be gorgeous to give as a gift. And I still have to work out some measurements, and also it's a little thick. I want to make it a little bit thinner. But that's going to be a little mini series using this paper pad. We're going to use lots of this because it's so pretty. So that's a little sneak peek of a coming series. With the Flora number 3, and I'll link this pad down below in case you guys want to get a head start on it. But we're going to jump in with our project today, and projects. We're going to create 2. I'm going to take these 12 by 12 sheets and just use my paper trimmer and trim down these strips. Paper trimmer that I'm using will fit the 12 by 12 sheet. I actually have the scoring tool in here too. I got to pull that up and remove the scoring tool so I can actually cut each one of these strips here. Haven't had to do that. Usually I like to keep my scoring tool on my paper trimmer, that way I don't lose it. But I just trim down all my strips, and sometimes the 12 by 12 sheets have your pattern across the full bottom of it. These ones actually have a little bit of a white border around it, and I kept the white border. I'm gonna have to trim it up a little bit, but I like the white. I thought the white lines would just add a little added detail. But isn't the color combination gorgeous? Now there's buttons in the center of these little flowers, so I brought in some button packs. These are from Jelly Bean Soup. I think they're called Cool Beans. And then for my flower, we're going to bring in some white felt. I love the texture that felt gives. And then we're going to bring in a flower die set from Newton's Nook Designs. Love the flowers in here because they're stitch detail. We're going to take 2 of the flowers and die cut out a bunch of felt flowers with the white felt here. Okay, once my flowers are die cut, we are going to go ahead and build it. I'm trying to show you the stitch detail, but it's just not working. Okay, I loved the pink, or actually the teal. We'll use it for the center of our flower. And that looks pretty as it is, but I wanted a little bit more dimension. So I'm going to take a glue dot and actually glue 2 of those larger flowers together to create more of a full flower. We'll just press our felt flower to our glue dot paper here. And then we can add our second flower, kind of twisting it so it's a little more full. And you can see I added a couple buttons to the smaller flowers. Okay, now we're going to take a piece of white cardstock. We're going to trim it in half, and then if you wanted to use printer paper for this part, you very well could. I'm just using regular white cardstock. Once it's trimmed in half, we have a background to glue all of our strips to. So grab my scissors. Once we have our scissors, I'm going to go ahead and trim off some of the white. I wanted it to be a little bit more balanced, and then I'll fishtail the end here, just so I have the even amount of white on the left and the right. And then we'll just use our tape runner, tack them down to our white piece of cardstock, kind of making sure the banner is overhanging at least like a half an inch over. And then we're going to do the same thing with the rest of these little strips. We'll add our tape runner and then just layer them all the way up. As I'm doing this, I'm kind of being color conscious. I didn't want two pinks together or two greens together, so we're just kind of mixing it up. And there we have it. Once they're all adhered, I was getting ready to throw these away, and I still had some left over. I thought, you know what, this is such beautiful colors, we might as well use them for another card. I have that extra other half of the cardstock that we just trimmed. This time I'm going to add adhesive directly to my my cardstock panel, and then we'll use these extra strips and just fill in our background basically the same way, but instead of going diagonal, we're going to go vertical, and we'll have enough to cover a panel for a portrait style card here. Just trim that one off. This one we're not going to fishtail the ends, just going to keep them solid. We're going to do our last piece. Lovely. Okay, we're going to use our scissors, flip it around, and we're going to trim off the excess. You want to make sure when you trim off the excess that you don't trim off the fishtail banner side. I almost did that. Once this is trimmed off, we're going to trim off our second little panel piece. We had that little one on the bottom that I didn't fishtail, so I'm going to fishtail that one. Okay, and just once this is trimmed, I was going to trim off the excess. I thought we'll do that once it's on the card base. Now I didn't want to do this, but I did. I loved this teal colored tone-on-tone pattern paper that was in the 12 by 12 collection. I trimmed down a 2-inch strip, and then we're going to add this all the way to the left of our card base. I do have a strip of white cardstock. We are going to adhere this to our fishtail banner piece we just made, leaving about a half of an inch showing, making sure it's straight. We'll use the grid lines on our mat, and then I'm bringing in some natural twine. I love natural twine with these colors. I just think it looks very natural, I guess. We're going to wrap it around the seam twice, and we're not going to tie a bow. We're just making sure the end is on the back here. I use my tape runner to secure it, but we're going to add some foam adhesive behind it. That way it's not going to go anywhere. This is going to be one level higher than our card base, so we'll just add our foam adhesive, remove the release paper, and then this is going to go to the left of our card. We're going to have that teal colored cardstock showing at about the 3/4 inch mark. Lovely. Okay, now we're going to take our twine. We're going to tie a bow, and then just trim off the tails and set that aside. If you wanted to thread your button with the twine and then glue it down to your felt, you could do that, but we're going to cheat a little bit and add our bow to the very top of our button. Before we adhere our flower, we're going to stamp our sentiment. I'm using a small birthday stamp set from Simon Says Stamp, and I love the small font on here. I wanted to accent that same teal colored pattern paper in the banner. So to do that, that's where we're going to stamp our sentiment. I chose Happy Birthday to You. I'm just stamping with my VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And then we'll add our flower, which is overhanging just a little bit, so I'm going to add a foam square underneath for a little more stability. And then we'll take a smaller glue dot and just glue it to the center of our button, and then we can add our bow, kind of doing a faux thread through. I don't think the recipient's going to know you didn't thread your button. Okay, I think that looks fabulous. Next, we are going to go ahead and do our second card. I have that same pattern paper. Since it's a 12 by 12 strip, we got lots of it. I'm gonna actually take my paper trimmer and trim it in half. I wanted a thin strip on the very bottom of my my panel, and then about a 1/2 inch on the very top. So we're gonna kind of stretch this out a little bit. First we'll add our top piece. We're gonna leave about a 1/2 inch showing. I didn't use my paper trimmer, I used my scissors, and it was a little crooked, but I'm hoping my twine will fix that. I'm going to add the bottom piece here, and then we'll flip this over, use a tape runner and adhere this just almost in the center of our card. We're going to leave a little bit on the bottom of the white showing. Okay, we're going to go ahead and use that same natural twine. We're going to stamp our sentiment first. We're going to use the same Versamark ink, VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and this time for this card I chose It's Your Day and We Love You. Now we'll add our twine. I'm not going to go on the seam for this one. I'm going to go a little bit below the seam. We're going to wrap it around twice and then tie the bow all the way to the left of our card front. We're going to scoot it over so it's overhanging, and then we can add our bow. For this flower, I just die cut out 2 more of the felt flowers, and then I used the pink button here and just secured it with a glue dot. I'm not going to add a faux ribbon in there. It's off to the side. I think that's going to work just fine. I didn't use the smaller buttons. I was happy just with the simplicity of this, but since I hand cut the seams of my each one of these little strips, it looked a little choppy for me, but to fix that, I'm going to bring in my Nuvo glitter drops. This is White Blizzard, and just go over those seams. This is going to make it a little shiny and less noticeable for my imperfections. And then off camera, guys, I went ahead and added some faux stitching. I had used my black Jelly Roll pen and added faux stitching along the teal colored cardstock. But that's my projects for today using Retro Sketch number 130. Encourage you guys to check out the Retro Sketches blog. I'll link it over on my blog if you guys want to see more inspiration with this sketch. But you can see the stitching here in the close-up pictures. But if you are interested in any of the products, they'll be listed below. And keep a lookout for my new series. It will be coming soon. Have a fabulous day. Thanks so much for joining me. We'll see you soon. Goodbye.